Let's try, if we can, to pull all of this together and get a real life example of where the power of network effects has really catapulted a business into the stratosphere compared to its competitors. And the best one that probably comes to mind, and it's local and relevant, is Canva and Shutterstock. And you live this real time, and so maybe you can give some color and some compare and contrast between those two businesses.
Yeah, so the reason we love this example is because it's one of the bigger mistakes we've made. Conceptually, we would have put Shutterstock on the matrix back in 2015 is pretty high on the user aggregation side of things. I mean, they've done an incredible job there, but pretty low on the platform utility. It's not that it didn't have platform utility, it's just that the platform utility was very much dependent on the user aggregation piece. There wasn't a lot of platform utility independent of the supply of stock content. Canva, on the other side of things, very low on the user aggregation, just given it was very early days for them, but much higher on the platform utility piece, independent of supply. So you could use the Canva solution back in those days, still have a wonderful experience in terms of developing content, but it was much earlier on the stage of development.
And since then, obviously Canva's moved up and to the right.
Yeah, so I mean, what's happened since then, even like 5 years, a short period of time. So if you think about the relative market caps, in 2015, when we sold Shutterstock, market cap was $2 billion US.
Yeah.
I don't know what Canva's valuation was there, but it would have been maybe a couple of $100 million. Fast forward 5 years later, market cap of Shutterstock is actually down. It's about $1.7 billion. So revenue hasn't grown and the company value as assessed by the market is lower than what it was 5 years ago. Canva did their latest round at $6 billion valuation. US. In 5 years, you have a massive valuation change.
So the incumbent, who was the market leader, is basically been dwindled to the background as this little startup in Sydney has taken control.
And now it's 3 times the size.
Yeah, and growing exponentially. It's a wonderful case study. And so what would you say the biggest takeaway from this particular case study would be?
The key takeaway for us and why I think it's such a powerful example is it goes to the power of platform utility independent of supply, especially as it relates to the demand side of a two-sided network.
So having given what you'd call a compare and contrast case study, why don't we just go deep on one business and give an example of a business that has added to their network effects over time in a variety of ways and how that has played out.
The example I use here is Square, and I'd say it's still playing out. Yeah. And we think it's still early days in terms of how it plays out. And what they've done is something really special. So they created this awesome software solution for merchants at the point of sale. That's built about a $2 billion revenue business. It's growing really strongly. It's an amazing business in and of itself. Independent of that, they've created this incredible and one of the fastest growing businesses at scale of all time, business called Cash App. So that's $1 billion of revenue growing at 150% per annum.
Crazy to think.
So just get your head around that idea. $1 billion growing at 150% per annum. And what that is a peer-to-peer network for financial services, predominantly in the US, but it's coming to Australia, it's going to the UK. We think it has real global application. So if we think about them on the matrix, what are they doing? Well, they're building the demand side of the network with Cash App, with this really fast-growing, fast user aggregation, platform utility, direct network effects on the demand side. And they've got thousands and thousands of merchants on the supply side. So what we think about a lot and what Square is talking about is, well, can they create the hybrid network and connect the two together?
For them to achieve that, they become essentially the new age JP Morgan.
we think it becomes the bank of the future.
Yeah. Fascinating case study, and I can't wait to see how that plays out.
And we're betting on it, so we're believers, but they're doing an awesome job in executing it.
So, Haim, I've loved this, and I'm sure many other people watching have also. And so let's bring it all together in one last little chunk.
Yeah, so if you bring it all together, I really think about three things. Number one is that it doesn't matter what your business is, you need to be thinking about how you're developing network effects within your business, because software, the internet, it is becoming pervasive. Everything is becoming connected. So what do you have there with that massive connectivity? You then have massive data aggregation. So when thinking about the next 5 or 10 years, we think about how that connectivity and data aggregation then lends itself to AI and machine learning in developing those network effects. Why is that important? Because it optimizes the customer experience. It's a huge opportunity. We think it's really early days, but it's going to pervade all industries, not just software and the internet. The final one is really around this idea of developing platform utility independent of supply. So yes, user aggregation is powerful and it is critical, but regardless of where the network effect starts, you have to think about moving up to the right of that matrix, and to do that, you have to be developing platform utility independent of the supply.
A great wrap. I hope everyone's loved this deep dive into the strongest of the structural competitive advantages, that being network effects, and hopefully we can dig into a few more soon, Hamo.
Sounds good. It was fun.